Justin Brower. He is the toxicologist that did the testing on this case for National Medical Science Laboratories.
Time on the monitor is 10:10 a.m. Today's date is February 12th, 2026. It's a video recorded deposition of Dr. Justin Brower in the matter of Jennifer Spivey Foley as personal representative of the state of Scott Ryan Spivey versus Charles Weldon Boyd and Kenneth Williams. This deposition is being conducted remotely through Zoom. Counsel, please introduce yourselves, after which our court reporter will administer the oath.
Natasha Hanna. I represent the estate of Scott Spivey along with Mark Tinsley.
Morgan Martin and O'Brien Martin do represent Bradley Williams.
This is Kenneth Moss. I represent Charles Weldon Boyd.
Okay. Dr. Brower, if you raise your right hand to be sworn, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thanks.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Brower.
Morning.
We briefly met moments ago. My name is Natasha Hanna, and I, along with Mark Tinsley, represent the estate of Scott Spivey in a case where he was shot and killed. I wanted to know a little bit about you. Could you tell me your name, title, and your position at NMS Labs, please?
This is Dr. Justin Orion Brower, B-R-O-W-E-R. I am a forensic toxicologist with NMS Laboratories.
And it's my understanding, Dr. Brower, that you kind of worked your way up the ladder as far as being a forensic toxicologist. And you have, it looks like, more than 17 years of experience.
Correct.
Okay, and I believe you started out as a laboratory supervisor for the North Carolina Office of Chief Medical Examiner, and then worked your way up to Associate Chief Toxicologist. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and you actually have a lot of experience in the very reason why we're here today, which is certifying post-mortem drug and alcohol toxicology reports and even developing LC-MS-MS confirmation methods. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and now you served as a forensic toxicologist for NMS Labs for about 4 years, it looks like?
About 3.5, correct.
Okay, great. Dr. Brower, as a forensic toxicologist, the work that you do is actually very important. Sometimes you answer questions that other people can't. Is that right?
Correct.
And even more so, it's important in the sense that you can answer questions and even provide families some closure.
That is correct.
All right, at this time, I'd like to offer Dr. Justin Brower as an expert witness in the field of forensic toxicology.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Brower, do you have your the 3 reports that were produced in this case in front of you?
I do.
And it's my understanding you provided a pretty substantial litigation support package from NMS Labs, but what we're going to be talking about today is the toxicology report that I believe encompasses about the first 13, 14 pages of that document.
Correct. I just have the toxicology reports pulled up because that's really the most relevant document for today.
I agree. All right. So it looks like there are 3 reports that were done on September 27th, 2023, October 10th, 2023, and October 24th, 2023. Is that right?
Correct.
And the 2 reports that you signed were October 10th and October 24th, 2023.
Let me just confirm that. Correct. The initial, the first report was reviewed and certified by William Schroeder, and then the case was, I believe, transferred to me because he was unavailable for testimony, and then there is additional testing added, which generated the 3rd report. So that is correct.
All right. And William Schroeder, is he a colleague at NMS Labs?
He is correct. He's a colleague of forensic toxicologist.
Okay. Were there any quality concerns or disagreement about the findings between the first report that he did and the second one that you did?
No, the reports are identical. If a case has to be reassigned to another forensic toxicologist, we review it just like we do any other case, as if we've never seen it before, because obviously we haven't seen it before, so we review it exactly the same way. There's no need to discuss anything with the other forensic toxicologist because we're just reviewing the data, making sure everything is correct and accurate. We're not coming up with any opinions or anything like that when we certify the report.
All right, and so you,
Tasha.
yes, sir.
Tasha,
Yes, sir.
we need to go off the record a moment we can, but quickly, he referenced a 14-page toxicology report, if I heard him correctly. I don't think, a 14-page toxicology report. I have the 3 to 4 pages that were attached to the autopsy. Is there something else?
Yeah, let's go off the record for a second if we can, please.
The time on the monitor is 10:18 a.m. and we're back on record.
Dr. Barber, it's my understanding when you sign a report for a case, you're personally reviewing the analytical data before signing and you're certifying the results are accurate, right?
That is correct.
So let's look at, and I'm going to isolate questions to the 2 reports that you did, which was October 10th of 2023 and October 24th of 2023. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. So it looks like your October 10th of 2023 report shows 3 specimens were collected: heart blood, urine, and vitreous fluid that were all collected on September 12th of 2023. Is that right?
Not exactly.
Okay, tell me that.
On the first report that is certified by me, we had 2 specimens, the heart, blood, and urine. And then for the third toxicology report that was issued on 10/24, that is when we have the vitreous fluid that was then sent to us for additional.
Okay.
So
Okay,
really, if you want to just keep it very simple, all we have to really do is discuss the final report that has all of the specimens and all of the testing. We don't have to bounce between reports.
Okay, I like that. So, but I guess the point I was making that all 3 of those specimens were actually collected on September 12th of 2023, regardless of when you actually did the testing, right?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, that's what we have.
Okay, and then on your report, both reports on page 1, it shows collection date and time, September 12th, right?
Correct.
Okay, and are you aware that Mr. Spivey died on September 9th of 2023 at approximately 5:58 p.m.?
No.
So the specimens weren't collected until about 63 hours after death, according to the report and the collection times, right?
I'll trust your math on that one.
Okay. And does that 63-hour delay raise any concerns to you as a forensic toxicologist?
It is a longer post-mortem interval. The post-mortem interval is the time between death and the time of specimen collection, typically at autopsy. Usually like try to get an autopsy as quickly as possible. It's not of a great concern here, just due to the nature of the drugs that were not found. It can play a role in certain drugs due to post-mortem redistribution, but since there was very few drugs detected, namely we just detected ethanol and testosterone and no other like illicit or prescription drugs, it's not a great factor unless you were to tell me that the body was markedly decomposed. But due to the nature of the death, I would imagine that the person wasn't laying around decomposing outside for that 63 hours, so they made their way to the coroner's office or autopsy facility for proper storage.
Okay. So I understand you were not aware that there was a 63-hour window of time between death and the time it was collected. Were you told that the body sat in a vehicle for about 5 hours in September heat before it was actually transported?
Was I told that?
Yes, sir.
No, I know absolutely nothing about this case.
Okay. Would that information be relevant to you as far as being able to do this toxicology report, that a body sat in a vehicle for 5 hours after death, and then blood wasn't taken for 63 hours after that?
It's not a great concern. Most bodies aren't initially collected and transported, immediately after death. A lot of deaths are unattended and unwitnessed. So it's fairly standard that, bodies may be laying around for hours in a home or in a mobile home or outside or in a vehicle, prior to being found and transported to the proper facility.
Okay, I understand that, but it's interesting that you note in your comments on page 2 that you say that ethanol can also be a product of decomposition or degradation of biological samples. So if a body were sitting outside, whether it's standard or not, it could be, it could alter the test results, couldn't it?
To a small degree, there is post-mortem production, or post-mortem production of ethanol is possible. It's typically in cases where there are some marked decomposition, or they're found outside. We often see it when they're like in drowning cases and they're in like ponds and dirty, brackish waters. Typically, though, that post-mortem production is fairly low, typically less than 20 milligrams per deciliter.
So let's talk about one of the first specimens you received and tested, which is the heart blood. In forensic toxicology, is there a preferred type of blood for post-mortem analysis?
We prefer a peripheral specimen. Heart blood is what we would call a central specimen because it's central to the body cavity in and around the heart. We generally prefer testing or at least drug confirmation on peripheral specimens. That would be like in iliac, which runs up and down the groin, or the femoral up and down the leg. And that is solely just to reduce the occurrence of post-mortem redistribution, which could artificially elevate concentrations greater than what they were at the time of death.
So heart blood is a less reliable form as opposed to peripheral or femoral blood.
I wouldn't say less reliable as far as screening goes. If anything, the concentrations would be greater in the heart blood and more detectable in the heart blood than in the peripheral. The concern comes with the quantitation or concentrations found in those central blood specimens, such as the heart, where certain drugs that are prone to post-mortem redistribution could be higher than what they would be at the time of death. But since there were no drugs that are prone to post-mortem redistribution, such as SSRIs and antidepressants and drugs like methadone or hydroxychloroquine, it's not really a concern in this case.
Well, isn't it a concern when it relates to the testing of ethanol?
No.
Okay, tell me why.
Ethanol distributes fairly evenly throughout the body, whether it's in central blood or peripheral blood, it really doesn't matter.
Okay. Now, did you receive any peripheral blood in this case?
We did not, no.
Okay, so you had to rely on whatever Horry County took as far as specimens and samples to send to you.
Correct.
Okay. Now, the heart blood ethanol was 130 milligrams per deciliters, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Which equals a VAC of 0.13.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Based on what you now know as far as a body sitting in a hot car for 5 hours and the specimen not being taken for 63 hours after death, does that give you any concern as far as the reliability of the heart blood and the VAC?
Not to a great degree, no. Like I said, it's possible there could have been some post-mortem production. If it did occur, it would be low and fairly negligible compared to the 130. We also have the alcohol in the vitreous fluid, which matches fairly closely to that of the blood. Usually the vitreous fluid ethanol lags behind that of blood. It just takes a little bit longer for the ethanol to diffuse into the vitreous fluid in the eyeball. So it's generally lower than that of the blood. But because they're approximately the same, I have no concern about the concentration of the ethanol in the heart blood.
Well, as a forensic toxicologist, isn't it true that you use a ratio of 1.15 to 1 when you convert that?
No.
Okay, tell me what ratio you use.
I don't use any ratio. I don't really know what you're talking about.
Are you able to convert vitreous blood fluid to a VAC content?
No.
No.
That's not something that is done.
You just typically don't do it or aren't asked to do it?
It's not something that is done.
Okay. All right, so tell me about...
That's not something that toxicologists do.
I understand.
Or good toxicologists do. You might be able to find someone that could do that for you, but it would not be proper.
Okay. After death, isn't it true that alcohol can move from the stomach into the heart blood?
It can typically when there's blunt force trauma. So if, like, say, a car crash or someone jumps off of a building or someone, say, is stabbed or shot in the stomach and the gastric contents are ruptured, then yeah, you can have spillage or leakage and diffusion of any alcohol that could be in the gastric contents into that central cavity, and that can impact the alcohol concentrations of any collected central blood specimens, such as from the heart or the aorta. And that is one of the reasons why we, in cases like that, we like to test an alternate protected specimen, such as the vitreous fluid in the eye.
So in this case, let's see.
You can speak loud, we're muted.
So can bacteria in a decomposing body actually produce ethanol on its own?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I was coughing at the time.
That's okay. So it's my understanding that bacteria in a decomposing body actually produces ethanol on its own, and heat can even speed up that process.
It can. Bacteria, yeast, other microorganisms, yes, they can all, it's all possible that they can create the post-mortem production of ethanol.
Okay, but you weren't provided any of this information when you did your testing?
No.
Okay, also, Dr. Brower, you also were provided with urine and did test on that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and it's my understanding the testosterone level in the urine was 4.1 mg per milliliter, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and 4.1 is a long way from 200. And does that suggest steroid use?
4 is a lot less than 200, I'll agree with that.
Okay.
I don't know what you're getting at, though.
And I apologize, I didn't ask that question very clearly, that's my fault. So it's my understanding you didn't find any anabolic steroids when you tested Scott Spivey's specimens, correct?
That is correct. We only detected testosterone.
Okay, and what does it mean by the levels that you found as far as the testosterone in the urine was 4.1?
To me, that's fairly low in urine for men. Typically, we might see concentrations, greater than, I don't know what our reference comments says. I don't want to. You see wide ranges of testosterone in men, from, like, say, typically 150 up into 1,000 or so, and 4 is fairly low. It's actually very close to our reporting limit for testosterone, which is 2 in this case. So it's very low for some reason.
Okay, and my question, which was a poor one previously, so I apologize for that, but in your notes that you mentioned in paragraph 5, you indicated that WADA recommends further testing when testosterone exceeds 200. So my question to you, 4.1 is a long way from 200, so that does not suggest any kind of steroid use from that test, right?
Possibly there's some other factors to consider it as well, which you'll probably get into, I imagine.
Yeah, so also in your specific testing, whether you could find steroids, and let me back up, why did you test for the drugs that you tested for in this particular case?
We were asked to by the clients.
Okay, and who was the client in this particular case?
Back at the MUSC, Medical University of South Carolina, was the submitting agency.
Okay, do you have any knowledge about why they asked you to look for anabolic steroids or the other things they requested?
No.
All right, so it's my understanding that NMS Labs ran a specific anabolic steroid screen on the urine. How many steroids did that screen test for?
Give me just a sec. If I counted correctly, it's 27, approximately.
Okay, and you're referencing the last page of your report where under test 9306 you anabolic steroid screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good, thanks. Now, did that screen include anabolic steroids, and were any metabolites detected?
No, just the testosterone.
So no steroids at all from the 27 tests that you ran could be found.
It's not 27 tests, it was one test that encapsulates all of those. So correct, we did not detect any other of those steroids besides testosterone in the testing that we did.
Thank you for that clarification.
We'll take a break.
And NMSF,
Yes,
You brought it.
okay.
Anybody else hot in here?
Yes.
All right, let's take a break. I need to walk around a little bit. I'm very hot. I may have to take my robe off, but let's get the courtroom a little bit cooler. I don't know why it's hot, warmer this afternoon, but it's just warm in here to me. So take about 15 minutes and we'll come back and get through this.